Greetings all, Shane Bruce, Restomod Daisy, and today we're going to show you how we install the Model 27 spring block. These are the two component parts. This is the sliding block assembly. This is a half-inch steel pipe that acts as a sleeve and retains the assembly inside the plunger tube itself. So once again, to give you an idea of what goes on with the sliding spring block, what we've got is a Daisy number 111 Model 40 receiver. Right up here is the pin block. That's what keeps the spring in place in a regular setup. So if we take a look at where the plunger assembly rides, you'll see that the spring block picks up this mainspring almost at full expansion. Almost at full expansion. And that is on a standard Daisy that cocks on opening is the reason it's such a difficult stroke to make. Now, additional information. These two guns above us here have already been converted. They're this is the next trio of number 111 Model 40s that will be magically transformed into Restomod Daisy number 111 M40/27s. They've already got the spring blocks installed. So these are the mainsprings that came out of those guns. Now they're in pretty good shape, and as you can see, they're pretty chunky. But when we take a look at the mainspring that came out of the previous two number 111 Model 40s, we'll notice that the spring on this gun does not appear to be quite as stout. Now I can't say for sure that we're going to retain this spring when we convert this gun, but we might, because the Restomod conversions rely on slightly softer springs so that you can get the gun levered from the shoulder and closed from the shoulder. A very strong spring will require the gun to be dismounted. At least that's been the case in my experiments so far. So next step, let's take a look at this plunger. We're going to disassemble it. We're going to install this particular part, and then we're going to put it all back together. All right, let's step. Okay, now we've got the plunger assembly from our target gun installed in our plunger assembly, disassembly, reassembly, misassembly, assembly tool. Yeah, it looks like a caulk gun, but right now it's the plunger disassembly tool. So we've got it installed in the tool. We just remove a small pin and the plunger head from the gun. Now this is the old style leather seal plunger that actually has a steel pin on a tapered tube. And the air pickup is through these two holes at the top, if you can see them. Those two little slots there are what allow the air that's being compressed to be pushed up the shot tube and out the end. So let's take this part and put it down here. Now we're going to cover the spring with our hand. We're going to release the tool. That's a pretty punchy spring. Now we're going to, well, that one's not too bad either. It's a little goopy, but it's not terribly sacked. So we'll probably reinstall this. All right, now here's where the magic happens. Now we have a stripped plunger assembly. We take our sliding spring block, we install it here. We take the sleeve, we install it here. Et voila. Now we have a spring block that slides up and down the sleeve. And we don't need the spring anchor. That comes out of the equation. Now reassembly is pretty simple. You just take your goopy, nasty spring and you stick it back in. We remount it in the spring block. So let me get this in. All right, so we've got the sliding spring block installed, and as you can see, the spring is under a pretty good amount of compression. So now take the air tube, we'll slide it up to the front, we'll get it oriented, and I believe that our pin went in on this side last time. It did. Now, if you're going to utilize the original air tube assemblies, and we're going to give it a shot on this gun because it doesn't look that bad, you've got to pay attention to what side of the plunger the pin came out of, because the pin is abused and used over years and years, decades actually, and has developed wear patterns. So you want to watch that when you reinstall one of these, because the mainspring slides over the pin, retains it, and hits that washer at the back of the air tube. All right, so now we're ready. Let's see if the thing flies apart or not. Whoa, that's got some horsepower. All right, well, that is installed. The plunger spring stop has been removed from the assembly. The sliding assembly is in place. Now the lever, let's step back over the bench real quick. All right, so now we're at, okay, now when we get it reinstalled in the gun, we will not use the spring stop anymore, but what happens is the nose of the lever fits between the back plate that actually hooks the trigger and the sliding spring stock on installation. Now this will require that once you're trying to mount the lever, you're going to have to push against that spring. So it's a little bit different install process, but that's how things work. And they work very well indeed. So that's all today for Restomod Daisy. This is a Model 27 sliding spring block. That's how you put it in the plunger. Shane Bruce signing off.